Good morning and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rana and today we'll be creating our first database connected backend development project. So as you can see that this is our main objective, which is library book management system. So the scenario over here is that we need to create a basic library book management system to help keep track of the books available in the library. A system should allow librarians to add new books and print all the books. So basically, we just need to create a simple database, which we'll be connecting our database with our backend server. And what we need to do is that the librarian should have the ability to add details about new books and to print whenever they want to print, get the all the data about all the books. So the requirement is that implement a Node.js server to handle and create a read operations for books. Utilize MongoDB as the database to store book information, create endpoints for adding and printing the books. Okay, so these are the three things that we need to do. Now, this is the database schema. I'll explain you a bit later what this is. And as you can see that the API endpoint should look like this. The API endpoint should have the ending path as API books.add, and the method should be post. I explain you what the post means a bit later. And the response should be like a success, a 201 book added successfully. And similarly, if you want to print all the books by extracting the data from the database itself, then what we need to do is that we need to use the API with the endpoint AP slash forward slash API forward slash books, which is a get API, and the success we should get a response as 200 success 200 array of books matching the search criteria. Okay, so this is our main objective. Now let's go to the code. So this is our code over here. So now in the previous video, we just simply created a basic GET API in which we were getting the data from the data that we created in the file itself, and then we sent it back as the response to our postman. So now there are a few changes over here. So first change is that we have a complete folder structure right now. So SRC contains all our code for the database management or the server management. So there are three folders and one index.js. We know what index.js is. It is our entry module which contains the code for starting a server, okay, and initializing or mounting whatever middleware we need. So after that, there are three new folders that you might be able to see, which is controller, models, and routers. So what controller is? So let's see what router is. So router is our simply as the name suggests, it's our router which holds all the API endpoints locations. As you can see that we can say that we declare our APIs over here with the what kind of address they'll be what kind of address or yes, what kind of address these APIs would be located at, and what type of APIs they are, and what callback function they would be using. So this data is the functioning or the creation of API over here is similar. So this folder, as the name suggests, it's only holder all the APIs and the router itself. So first we import our express, then we import our add data and read data from the. Okay, so this is the callback function. I come to it a bit later after explaining this one. So after that, we simply create our router instance using the express.router, and it would be held by this variable router. Then we create our two APIs, it has been mentioned in our assignment. First API was our post API. So this is our post API with the API endpoint as the ending URL would be forward slash API forward slash books forward slash add. Okay. After that, this is the callback function. Then this is our get API, which is defined as router.get with the endpoint as a forward slash API forward slash book. So whenever the user sends request on this specific URL, or then the user would get all the printed data, all the details about the book. So after that, I am simply exporting my router, which holds my collection of APIs. So now, yeah, coming back to my callback function. Now, where I am defining it. So I am defining my callback function in my controller folder. So my controller folder holds all the callback function, or you can say that all the methods that the API would be performing. So first, what I did is that let's go to the read one. Okay, so how I'm getting my data. Okay, so let's explain what schema is. The schema is the you can say the format or structure of data, or the structure of or the style of structure of data, that how the data would be stored in our databases. So the schema is defined in our models folder. So this is a model folder, and this is the books details schema file, MJS file, and over here you can see that we are making use of the Mongoose library over here. So as you can see that we are making use of the Mongoose library, and what Mongoose library with the Mongoose library we are defining our new schema, and the schema name is book details schema. So first we create a new object instance with the help of this new keyword. Then we make use of the constructor function, which is our mongoose.schema, which returns our this schema over here. This is our the first object in our this function from here to here defines our schema. So as you can see that it would hold a key with the our data would always come in a JSON format, and how the format would look like is this. So it would first hold our character key, then its respective data in string format, string data type. After that, author and its respective data would be again string. Similarly for genre and similarly for ISBN. And now for the availability, we are making use of the data type as Boolean. After that, this is this first object inside our mongoose.schema is the actual schema of how the data would be stored. After that comes another object which is known. You can say that it is like a configuration for our schema. So over here, we specify what configurations we need, other configurations, or what additional options or features we need, or data we need, or you can say the metadata we need along with our data. So first, I want to create a timestamp. Now, what timestamp would show us? It would show us two different key value pairs. One is created date and time, and another one is last updated date and time. This timestamp, then its value true would add our created and last updated key value pair inside our original data. Now, after that, what I did is that I'm exporting my schema. Now, how am I exporting my schema? We are exporting my schema with the help of the function which is mongoose.model. So it takes two parameters. The first one is the collection. It should be connected to, or the collection it would be sending the data to, or you can see the collection that would be using this schema, and then the name of the schema or the variable of the schema, or the variable that holds the schema itself. Now, let's go to our controller function. So after that, we have created our schema of that how the data would be stored in our databases. So after that, we need to import it. So we are importing it over here with this line, which is import books details schema from our location of the file. And after that, now you can see that I am using, I'm first creating my post API's callback function. So what is my post API? Now this API specific task is to create data in our database and not to manipulate any of the data, pre-existing data. So we can say that the post API is just for adding new data in our databases, and do not do and it does nothing to our pre-existing data. And similarly, it is similar to get data, but in some ways like get data as well. Do not manipulates or changes anything in our pre-existing data, and similarly post does it as well. But the fundamental difference between get and post is that post creates new data, and read simply gets our pre-existing data and show it to the end user and client. So how am I creating its callback function? So as we all know, the callback function is always a asynchronous process. So what is happening is that this whole function would become our asynchronous. So it would take two things. One is request. So it is the request URL that we request that would be sent by the user. And then the other variable is the response. It would be used for sending the response to the client from the server side. So first we are getting our data from the body of our request. So request has two, 3 to 4 parameters, as I have discussed in the previous videos as well. One is query params, path params, third one is our headers, and again the fourth one is our body. So the body data is, you can say that whenever we create in the front end side, when we create a form, and whatever the details is entered inside our forms fields, and the user press on submit, then it is sent as a request to our APIs, and then APIs can extract that data from the body, because that request has its own body, and that body contains the data that is entered by the user inside our form. So that's how we are extracting our data. So we make use of our request.body, which gets our data from the body. Now we need to wait for the body for the data to come from our body. So first we created our added details, and then I use await over here. So what it would do, it would make this specific code of line, this whole code, into a synchronous function. So what it means that it would first wait for the previous promises to get resolved. So what is the promise over here? This request of body would create a promise, because async would make this whole code whole function into asynchronous. So it would give us the promise when if and only when the request of body completes its promises, or you can say the promise, it returns that it has successfully done its process, then and only then this command would execute. So that's why I'm using await over here. So what after the when the data has been extracted from the requests body, then we make use of that data. How are we making use of that data? We are creating that we are adding that data into our database. So how are we doing that? As I told you, the book's details schema is the schema, or sorry, not the schema, is the model that holds the connection to our databases collection, and what type of schema that collection would be using. So this is the name of that name of that model. Okay. So what I'm doing is that I am making use of that model dot create function. So the model comes with a multitude of root operations, which are create operations, read operations, update operations, and delete operations. So I'm making to add data, I'm making use of the create operation of the model. So what are we doing is that we are creating a data, and what data would be added, it would be adding the data that is held by the variable details. So the details is holding our data from our body. So what how the process is happening? So first, when it extracts the data, then it cross verifies if the structure of the data is same as our schema. So it means that the data would check through if it holds the key. It holds the key title, then what is the data type of the value? If it is string, then okay. Then it would go through each and every key value pair inside our data that we are getting from the body. And if it matches all the schemas requirements, then it adds that data into our databases collection. So what I'm always talking about, what collection. So what is collection? It You can say that a database has multitude of storing systems, and each storing system can be called as a collection. Or you can say that a database can hold multitude of data, like someone's you can say that someone's marks is stored in somewhere else, and you can say that the movies details are stored somewhere else, and books details are stored somewhere else inside our database. So these are different. To differentiate between the data, we create collections, and each collection hold their respective data. And it is a good practice to store a single type of data inside of it. What I mean by that, if a collection is made for storing book details, then only the book details should be stored in it to make the whole database bit more manageable or maintainable. So that's why we are creating collections. So yeah, collection. That is the use of the collection. So after this is executed, then what would happen is that it would execute this command, which is return. I have told you the significance of the return in the previous lines, the previous video as well. It is just so that if for some reason we are using the res.send for two time, or you can say that for conditional response, for sending the response conditionally, then we need to use return, so that if this first res was triggered, then the function should stop working over over that line only, and it would not trigger the second res.send command, and it would do not the server won't give us an error saying that the headers cannot be sent if the response has been already sent once, because per request we can send only one response. Okay. So what would the response would be? It would again send a JSON file, and what the JSON data would be holding. First is the status saying that success 201, the book was added successfully. The book. let's say the books details, the books details added successfully. Okay, and after that, just an additional option, I'm also showing the end client that what details were added to the database. This is an optional thing. It was not mentioned in our objective. As you can see that it only says us to give us a response as this one, but I am giving additional information that what details were added. Okay, so this was our callback function that our post API would be using, and this one over here. Now the read function. Now the read callback function is again a asynchronous function. So what is happening over here is that first we are creating a asynchronous function which accepts two things, request and response. We are making use of the response only because it is a get API, and get API only makes use of res you can say that a response variable. So first we are extracting our data from the database. Now, as we are extracting our data, we are again using our await function over here to wait for the extraction of the whole data. And again, the extraction of the data is being done with the help of our model, which was books details schema dot find. Okay. So what does dot find do? As I told you, the book details schema is our model, and it is connected to a collection which is known as books, which is known as, just a second, what was it, books details. Okay, now yes, so yeah, the dot find function is a pre-built function which is used to find multiple data, or you can say that it is used to get the data from our database. So it has two functions. One is that if we simply pass dot find without any parameters mentioned inside our parenthesis, then it would return us each and every data that is stored inside our database in the form of an array. So as we are making use of the JSON, then what would the find function would be returning? It will be returning us the array of objects, and each object would be the specific, each object would be the separate data that is stored inside our database. So yeah, this is how we are getting our data from the database. And after that, we are simply returning the response again, which would also show us the JSON data as status, state, uh, just a second, status 200 array of books matching the search criteria. So yeah, this was the command that we were asked to write. The search criteria functionality would be added in the next video. So I'll explain how to add the search criteria inside of it in the next video. And it is pretty simple. You can do it yourself as well. So if you want to search with some criteria, then what we need to do, we need to specify an object, and what we need to write over here is that we need to write that what type of data, what type of key value pair should exist in our data to be returned by our find function. So for example, let's say we want some title, and the title should always hold a name like the Lion King. So every data that holds the key value pair as title Lion King, then that data would be returned by our find function. So in this, our main objective wasn't the search, applying the search function. So we won't go into details how we are extracting the search data from the user client side and then using it inside a find function. That whole process would be explained in the next video. So currently, after the extraction, as I told you, this would give us our status, and after that, we are making a key all books details, and after that, we are simply printing. We are returning the whole object. So as you can see that if I drag over here, as you can see that it is showing that what type of array of objects this would be holding, and each object will be holding to our schema. And after that, I'm simply exporting my these two functions, and these two functions are being imported in my router, and then we are making the use of it in our get and post API. Now coming to our main server side code, which is written inside our index.js. So let's first see how to create, how to get our connectivity string. So what is a connectivity string? So first, navigate to MongoDB site and then go through the whole process of creating your ID. After you have created your ID, the initial user, or you can say the students. For students, Mongo allowed creation of one server or database with the size of 512 megabytes, I think, for free. So make use of that and create a first cluster. So the cluster would look something like this. Something, just a second, it's not okay. Let me reload it first. Okay, just a second. So yeah, after creating your ID and everything else, you need to create your first cluster. And this is my first cluster, which is cluster 0. And after that, inside of it, you can say that cluster is a collection of databases. We are using the word cluster for it. So database is created inside a cluster, and the cluster size is fixed, which is, as you can see that, 512 Mbps. And this is the for only for free subscriptions. You can go to 1 GB and further than that, but we have to pay for it. So after creating a cluster like this, we need to connect our, sorry. So yeah, this is our site, and to maintain or do anything in our site, then we again need to reload, open the site, load the site, then log in again, then do the things. So for maintaining our database, there is a utility software known as MongoDB Compass. It what it does that it makes use of our connecting string. So how to get our connecting string? We first go to connect. Just a second. Yes, after going to connect, we'll go navigate to our compass section. And after going to compass section, you can download it from over here. And now this is our connecting string. So this is the string that helps the compass to connect to our current cluster. And you can see that this is the password. So when you come to this, there is another option which shows you the username and password area before this. So you need to make sure that you are saying the password, or you can change the password later as well. But make sure you are not doing that because it can create some issues. After that, you need to replace when you get your password, you need to replace this whole string with your password inside our compass. So first, this is how we are doing it. We need to copy it, and then after downloading it, you can just go to review setup and then done. And then you need to open up your compass. So this is the compass, how the compass would be looking like. And then you just need to, after opening it, you need to either, if it is not showing this pop out over here, then you need to click on new connection. When you click on new connection, then this would open up. Then you need to just paste that connecting string over here, and then instead of these password written in between these angulars, you need to enter your password. So just enter your password. I am not entering the password because I have already previously connected to it. So when you are previously connected to it, then it would show in our instant tag area over here. Then we just need to click on it. It would give us our connecting string. Now, as you can see that the password is protected over here because of course it is password. So that's why it is protected. And after that, you just need to click on connect, and this would connect the compass would make the connection to our cluster using this connecting string. So this is the first page that would open to you. And as you can see over here, this is our database tab over here. And within our database contains multiple databases, multiple smaller databases. One is admin. These are the pre-created ones. One is admin, another is config, and another is local. We do not have any use for it. We do not have use for it. So we'll leave it over here just for now. So now coming to our main server side code. So first we are importing our Express and Mongoose and router as well, because we need to mount our router to our middleware, global middleware. So first we create a app Express instance using our const variable app. After that, I am also making use of the middleware express.json. Why is that? Because I need to read the data from our request.body. Now request.body first returns the data in a string, and our Express is not able to read it. So we need to make use of express.json, which will pass through our string, and which will pass through the data coming in the form as a string and convert it back to the JSON format. So yeah, we are that's why making use of it. So now comes the connection to our database step. So how are we doing it? So first we use the function mongoose.connect, and inside of connect, we paste our connecting strings. We paste our connecting strings. So yeah, we paste our connecting strings. So after yes, we paste a connecting string and we make use of just a second. Yes, we paste a connecting string, and after that, the connecting string would end over .NET, and after that we use slash books over here. It means that it would connect to the slash books database inside of our cluster. So as we know that the books database is not created, so what would happen is that it would create a new database with the name slash books. After that, what we are doing is that if the connection is successful, then this asynchronous function, which is dot then, would initiate showing us the message that connected to the Mongo server. Okay. And if there was an error, then it would be cached by this function, which is dot catch, and it would take e as the parameter. Now e is the error, and it would then print the error using this error function, which takes e as the parameter, and it would print our error connecting, then the reason of the connection, error in the connection. After that, I am using the global middleware to mount my router, which holds my all API endpoints. And after that, I'm simply starting my server with the help of my app.listen. With the help of my app.listen, yes. And app.listen would be starting my server at 8000 port, and it would also print my, just a second. Yes, it would print all my data. Okay, so this is how I am printing my data. Sorry, I'm lost the track of it. After connection, it would print this string saying that this server has been successfully started. So now to start the server, we first need to locate to our SRC folder. So let's go over there. Books management, then SRC. After that, what we need to do, we need to write node and then index.js, which was mentioned MJS, I guess. Yes, MJS. Which was mentioned. Now, what is MJS? MJS is a modern version of JavaScript which allow us to use methods like import, because you might have seen in our previous videos that I was making use of require. Now, require is a older JavaScript functionality which was introduced before ES6 was introduced to the JavaScript. So that's why if we want to use import functionalities, like if this import over here, this functionality like this import, then we need to make use of MJS. And yes, it was server. Yeah, let's start our file after pressing enter. As you can see that first it shows successfully started the server at this. After some time, after the connection was made, this connected to Mongo server was given to us. Now let's see if I am able to print my data. So if I refresh my compass over here, it should show me a new database known as books, because it was not previously created. So it would create a new one. As you can see that new books database has been created. Now again, because of, as I told you, the model was taking a new collection, and then the then the schema of that collection. So as you can see that the books details has been created as a new collection when we write it inside our mongoose.model as well. So currently if I open it, there is no data over here. So let's create some data. So we'll go to our API. As you can see that this is my API, and now let's add some data. So this to add, we need to go to this API point. Now navigate to this body tag and then raw and select it to JSON. Now we need to create our data. Okay. So how we create that? We'll create the data according to our schema. So let's do one thing. Just a second. Let's take it from here over here only. Okay. Yes. This is our data. We'll get remove of the extra basis. So let's say the first book name is The Lion King. After that, author, I don't know, let's say XYZ, and genre. let's say 1, 2, 3. It's just random data. There is no need to see anything. And let's say it is available. Okay. So because it is Boolean, so what we need to use, we need to use true over here. Yeah, yes, true. So after that, if I click on send, then it should give if the data is successfully added, which means that the schema is maintained by our data, sending the data, and it is successfully added. So it should give me a response saying that status 201, the data was added, and it will show what data was added. Okay, so it is giving me an error. So there might be a error in my data. Just a second. So yeah, I have identified the error. First thing, we were writing the API endpoint exactly. I used dot over here instead of slash. And again, we were using the postman in the get mode, not in the post mode. So we need to always remember if we are testing a API like that, then the postman should be configured to get mode, not the post mode. Or if we are using the post mode, then it should be configured to the post mode. So if now we click on send, as you can see that these we have successfully added our data. So as intended, it gives us the response as status 201, the book details will added, and then add data is this over here. Now, as you can see that it is giving me three additional things. One is the specific ID for this database, this data only. So this ID is unique for this data in the whole database. And as we know that we enabled the timestamps or you can say that we made the timestamp value as true. So it is giving us the create at time, time and date, and the updated at time and date. Again, this is the version key value pair. It is used to show that how many times the data has been updated. So yeah, it is the first data creation. So version is zero over here. Now let's see if it is added in our database. So this is our database. Now let's refresh it. Just a second. As you can see that my data has been successfully stored inside of it. So now let's again save another data. So now let's see. Let's leave it to this level and let's get it to false. Now if I send it again, this was successfully saved. Now let's see if in our API it is stored. So as you can see that both the string data and the new added line data has been successfully stored inside our database. Now let's see the print functionality. Now to use the print functionality, the API endpoint was like this, / API and / books. So if I send a request, okay, again the error was why the error is coming because I forgot to change the mode of the postman. So it is a get API, so it would only get the response in the get. So now as you can see that I'm getting both the two data that I added inside my whole database. So as you can see that first we get as intended, first we get the status key value pair, which is status, then 200 array of books. So it was status 200. I forgot to, that's why I was wondering why it is sounding a bit wrong. So yeah, it is status over here. Just a second, it's a easy fix, status, and we need to restart our server because we made some changes. So now if I again do it, that's yes, status 200 array of books matching the search criteria. Then after that, it is giving us the array of objects, and each object is the particular data entity that is added inside our database. So as you can see that this was all about connection with the database, and our connection with the database and how to create a post API, and how to create a new model, all about the new folder structure that I just introduced. And again, The Mongoose library. Yeah, the Mongoose library was new addition as well. So, well, that's all. As you can see that we have successfully achieved our objective, and that's it for the video. And thanks a lot for watching.